The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs is one of the most well-known urban legends to date and has been portrayed in various films such as Black Christmas or When a Stranger Calls. In it, a babysitter is babysitting for a rich family while the parents go away. As she's babysitting late at night, she gets a mysterious phone call from an individual asking her if she's checked the children. Fearful for her life and the safety of the kids, she ends up calling the police once the calls get more and more severe and repeated. The police tell her that she needs to keep the man on the line for at least a minute in order for them to trace the call. The next call that she gets, she tells the man that she's called the police and that they're going to be monitoring the call. Seconds later, the babysitter receives another call and recognizes it to be the man who's been repeatedly calling her, at which point she warns him that she's called the police and that they're monitoring the call. It's only a couple minutes later that she receives a call from the police warning her that the caller is coming from inside the house. While this is a very well-known and very common urban legend that's told around campfire, unfortunately, it is also a very realistic crime that was committed in 1950. In 1950, in Columbia, Missouri, during the month of March, 8th grader Jeanette Chrisman had decided to skip a party with her classmates to babysit for a local family named the Romax. Little is known about what happens next, although what is known is that Jeanette Chrisman was raped and strangled to death with an iron cord. While Jeanette had made calls to police, all they were able to hear on the other line was her calls for help, as the police were unable to trace the calls and where they were coming from. Cropsy is an urban legend that was used by parents to scare their children into being good and not going out after dark, saying that a crazed man with a hook for a hand would roam the streets and looking for kids all on their own before snatching them up and taking them away. However, in the 1980s, the children of Staten Island had even more reason to fear the local boogeyman, as Cropsy had come to life in the form of one homicidal madman who really liked to hunt children. His name was Andre Rand. Rand worked as a janitor at the Willowbrook State School on Staten Island, a place whose name alone has the power to frighten adults and children alike. The institution, built as a respite for children with intellectual disabilities, was revealed to be a living hell in the 1970s, yet authorities wouldn't close its school doors until 1987. Number 3. The Halloween Hanging. There have been a variety of different iterations of how this urban legend goes, but one thing is the same in all of them, and it's that sometime during Halloween night or the following day, neighbors discover that a hanging body which they all thought to be a Halloween prop turns out to be the actual hanging corpse of a once living person. Unfortunately, this urban legend happens more than most people would want to believe. In October 1990, a 17-year-old male worker at a Halloween haunted hayride event in New Jersey accidentally died of strangulation while attempting to perform a gallows stunt. The hay wagon's tractor driver grew suspicious when the boy, Brian Jewell, failed to deliver his scheduled speech when they arrived at his stop. It turns out that Jewell was already dead. Also, in October 1990, a 15-year-old boy in North Carolina was found hanging amid fake spiderwebs and plastic bats while decorating his aunt's house for Halloween. In September 2013, a 16-year-old boy from Kentucky died after spending a whole day decorating for Halloween, after which he decided to pretend he was hanging from the noose as a prank. One other such case resolved around an actual murder. For the better part of one day in October 2015, people assumed the human-like figure leaning against a fence in a small Ohio town was a gory Halloween decoration, but it wasn't, until that evening that they realized it was a battered corpse of Rebecca Cade, whose boyfriend had already beaten her to death with a large rock. Her face was so bloody and disfigured, neighbors at first assumed it was a Halloween prop. The urban legend about killer clowns is one that can be traced in many different forms of media, such as the clown statue in The Room. However, it all came to life in 2016 when the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and other countries found themselves being stuck in an epidemic of clown sightings, starting off on August 26, 2016 in Greenville County, South Carolina, when residents spotted a strange man dressed as a clown walking around the neighborhood and waving to children. Shortly after, he was also then spotted hiding behind dumpsters while ducking behind them, while waving children into the woods before taking off. Shortly after that, clown sightings became a very common thing around the United States. Then, shortly time after, Canada itself started to have their own sort of clown sightings. While no one really knows why this sort of thing happened, there are many different speculations that popped up at the time, some suggesting that it was a promotional material for the 2017's It movie that was going to be coming out next fall. However, directors and producers quickly shut that theory down. To this day, The whole theory about why the 2016 clown sighting epidemic happened is a mystery that we may never know.